After last week's Grixis Affinity video, I read comments from my community and the Pauper Affinity Discord, and you had a ton of cool recommendations for new cards to try. 3 cards in specific caught my attention. This week, I entered 3 more tournaments to see if those techs were the truth. Let's find out right away. Thanks so much for watching, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more Pauper content. How is it going, everybody? Hope you are doing well. Welcome to another Pauper video. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today we're going to do something pretty interesting, I think, and we are going to talk about 3 different tournaments this week with 3 different decks. So if you're not aware, I did something pretty similar last week where I brought Grixis Affinity to 3 different community tournaments, one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday, one on Thursday, and each time I made little tweaks based on what was working, what wasn't working, and discussed my card choices throughout the week, and then at the end ended with a little bit of a recap and some suggestions for what you might play if you are wanting to try the deck out yourself. So based on some feedback that I got in that video in the comments, it seemed like y'all liked that sort of format and want to see more. And you all also had some pretty interesting suggestions on cards to try in Affinity. So I thought I would do the same thing this week. I would do another 3 different tournaments, but what I'll do differently this time is at each of the tournaments I'm going to play a slightly different Affinity deck, not just in terms of the cards that I'm tweaking, but in terms of a central theme or a tech card that you don't necessarily see all the time. So none of these decks will be the standard Affinity deck. If you want to see that, again, I am pretty proud of the video from last week, so go ahead and check it out. I'll put that in a card in the video, but if you want to see some spice, stick around and we will talk about it. So I'm coming at you right now. I'm recording this the night of the first tournament, and so I'm here to talk about the deck, talk about my thoughts as I went into the games, and then I'm going to show off some gameplay footage, and then afterward I'll do a little bit of a recap and discussion. And then we'll do that 2 more times after that too. Sound good? I hope so. So let's talk about this list right here. So this list is pulled directly from Walker735. I always like to credit the people whose decks that I'm borrowing. You know, this isn't copyright protected or anything like that, but at the same time, I think it's just good, good practice. So thanks to Walker735 for the deck. I'm trying it from a 5.0 list that they got in a Pauper League. So the purpose of this deck is to basically be a pretty standard version of the normal Affinity build, but playing additional threats, we're playing Gearseeker Serpents. So if you're not familiar, Gearseeker Serpent is 5 and 2 blue. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each artifact you control. It's a 5/6, which is a very important stat line, and it also has an ability, 5 and a blue, Gearseeker Serpent cannot be blocked this turn. So the reason that we're running this in the deck is that the typical Affinity list these days is very control-oriented, I would say. It does have a couple of threats and ultimately usually wins through creature combat or makeshift munitions or galvanic blast. But in this build, we basically double our amount of large threats. We're not just playing Mirror Enforcer anymore, now we also have the Gearseeker Serpent. So it might just seem like a worse version of Mirror Enforcer. It can never discount below the 2 blue. And in some ways that is true. Mirror Enforcer is still a more efficient card to play. But 5/6 is quite a large stat line. Some decks will have a lot of trouble dealing with this. If you're against decks that don't have hard removal, or you're against decks that play a lot of Tolarian Terrors, things like that, that have the 5 power breakpoint but not the 6 power breakpoint, this card, you know, it's very, very difficult for those decks to remove. They have to boomerang it, they have to demon inferior it, and then it's going to come back down later again anyway. So let's talk about the rest of the deck as well. There are some cuts, and the most obvious cut that you can see here is there are no copies of Galvanic Blast, which is definitely an interesting choice. There are no Galvanic Blast and no Cast Down either, so this is definitely less of a control-y build. This is a build that tries to be proactive, slam threats, and then if they remove them, slam some more threats until the game is over. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Something else that I think is interesting about this deck is it goes a little bit higher on card draw than some others. We are playing slightly more of a blue-oriented mana base, which allows us to play 4 Thoughtcast, so we can really dig for our threats and slam them as quickly as possible. It's also playing 3 main deck Krark Clan Shaman and 3 main deck Toxin Analysis. So that really helps the deck to sort of clean up the board if you're just trying to slam in with Gearseeker Serpents and Mirror Enforcers. And then something else that I sort of learned also in the games today, and slightly theorized before that, is that Toxin Analysis pairs quite well with the Gearseeker Serpents and Mirror Enforcers for life gain as well. There were times, I think I'm going to show a mono-red game in this video, where Toxin Analysis on like a Mirror Enforcer or a Gearseeker Serpent swinging in was just able to turn the game around. But yeah, so I would say the deck is a little bit less toolboxy than the normal Affinity build. Again, it doesn't have the cast downs or the Galvanic Blasts, which are pretty flexible and provide some reach. It also doesn't have the Kenku Artificer to sort of just stall out the opponent and run them out of things to do. But it does its own thing well and is able to be very proactive. In terms of utility artifacts, this one is playing 2 Candy Trail and a Chromatic Star, but only 1 Nihil Spellbomb main deck. I think the reason for that is this deck is strong against Terror, so the Nihil Spellbomb is less needed in the main. Talking about the side really quick, this is definitely a little bit more of a teched out sideboard than the ones that Luffy usually brings to leagues. This one is playing 4 Blue Blast and only 2 Red Blast. The rest of the sideboard is 2 Duress. I actually really like Duress in the Affinity Mirror, being able to take an Ichor Wellspring or a Deadly Dispute or a Makeshift Munitions. There are so many good targets against Affinity, so I like to sideboard this card in. And if I can just lead with a Vault of Whispers into a Duress and then take away like their turn 2 play, it feels amazing. I am playing the second copy of Nihil Spellbomb in the sideboard against Graveyard decks. 2 Breath Weapon for board clears against mono red, against white weenie as well, and then 2 Cast Down against things like Gruul Ramp. And then also there are 2 copies of Negate here, which is pretty interesting. The deck can support this, given that it leans a little bit more into the blue side of the mana base than usual, and I like this particularly because you're often wanting to leave up 2 mana anyway for one of your dispute or bargain effects. So you can sort of always feign having a negate when you really just have a dispute or a bargain, or on the flip side, which is probably going to come up more often, you can feign just having a dispute or a bargain, and they're going to say, okay, I won't remove Royce's creatures, I'm just going to make a proactive play, and then I say, nope, negate. So this is pretty nice to catch some blue decks and stuff like that by surprise. Maybe I would also play this against, Brood Scale. This might be good against to sideboard in against mono white and stop their Dust to Dust. It didn't come up much today, but I think all of those could be good applications. So I think that about does it for the deck tech. Like I said, I already played these games out, but I'm going to go ahead and record that as a separate section and talk about it after I show off some gameplay. For now, let's get into the games, and I will see you afterward to talk about it. Okay, we won the dice roll versus our opponent David Brito. Let's go ahead and play first. I have a single tap land with a Candy Trail. I don't like to keep Candy Trail with a tap land. Let's mulligan. And this hand looks better. I have 3 lands. One of them an untapped land, meaning I can Wellspring on 2. I'm going to keep this. And do I throw back a Wellspring or a Bridge? That's the question. So if I throw back a Bridge, then turn 2 I Wellspring. And then turn 3, I Wellspring again? I have a lot of looks for another land, but I have 19 of them. I think I'm going to put back 1 Ichor Wellspring, just because I already have the 1 to pair with a Reckoner's Bargain. Opponent mulligans 2-6. One of the other games from this series did not get recorded, unfortunately, so I keep looking back just to make sure. Let's start with a Dross Forge and pass. The opponent also mulligans down to 6 and then stops there. It's burn, okay. I've got a Reckoner's Bargain, which is going to help a little. But, I am playing Candy Trails, that's good too. I think I'm only on 3 Reckoner's Bargain. Let's Wellspring. We've got Blue Blasts in the sideboard for this. And we've got our Krark Clans in the main deck, along with Toxin for a little bit of healing. Wellspring, pass. Alright, Refurb is good. It fights on the board, you know. And I can pair it with Thoughtcast. What is that? Oh, Mountain. Okay. Bushwhacker, sure. I take 5. So they're heavy on the bushwhackers then, potentially. Or they're just trying to rush in and get some damage. So I would suppose here that if they're playing that bushwhacker, they might have a Kuldotha rebirth into another bushwhacker. So I think that if I refurbish Familiar, they might discard like a Chain Lightning. They'll keep their land, they'll keep their Kuldotha, and they'll keep their bushwhacker. That's one version of how this might go. How does that affect my plays? I think I want to see my draw first. In order to Thoughtcast first, effectively, I need to play my bridge, which locks me into a particular plan. I think it's better to refurbished first. Is that true? If I refurbished first, what does that mean? I can refurbished and then Thoughtcast. But then I will only have access to 1 mana at maximum. His opponent clocking out because of the, are they lagging? So refurbished Thoughtcast means that I can find I need to find specifically a 1 mana card into an untapped land. Okay, there's an untapped land. Or sorry, there's a 1 mana card, excuse me. Maybe I just don't Thoughtcast here. That's probably better, right? Let's just not Thoughtcast. I don't need to quite yet. We can draw our cards when we need them. I like this order, actually. It's hard to turn down a 1 mana draw 2, so I don't think I completely put it back. This Candy Trail could be really nice. It could help me get back into the game, especially if they discard like a land or a burn spell here. So currently I have like 7 points of healing. Declaring the block and then Reckoner's Bargaining my Refurbished Familiar is okay, but I think I might just need to use it for its 2/1 body here. They lose a Clockwork Percussionist, sure. It's interesting. I think that actually would have been kind of nice. We'll see if they have the Kuldotha plus Bushwhacker. They have Galblast for my creature. That's okay. That's fine. They swing 3, okay. So I'm going to Thoughtcast. So I'm going to pick up my land here, and then I'm going to Thoughtcast, finding another Thoughtcast and an unknown. Better not main deck Red Elemental Blast over there. I will be very upset with you. There was actually also a play here where I can just cast the Gearseeker Serpent. Now I can do it again. Do I put down a Gearseeker Serpent? I don't think so. I did kind of play that Seed of the Synod without thinking, so let's just Thoughtcast with it now, and then we will crack a Candy Trail most likely. Does this change things? I don't think so. Well, okay, so Candy Trail, just cracking Candy Trail, I lose to, alright, I'm gonna plan to crack the Candy Trail. I do lose to Kuldotha plus Bushwhacker, I believe, if they can find another land. The Lightning Bolt, me, sure. Find a land. Bushwhacker. Let's do this right now. I need to stabilize, obviously. I'm taking 7 here, so I'm still losing to a Lightning Bolt or a Chain Lightning. Unfortunate. I might have gotten a little too greedy there. 1 mana. Yes. Chain Lightning. All right, concede. GG, opponent. Okay, so I had a way to win there. I thought that I could, you know, wait 1 more turn, get a little greedy with the Cart Clan Shaman. It didn't work out for me. But let's put in, we have a lot of sideboard versus this. Let's put in the Breath Weapons and the Blue Elemental Blasts. We need to keep all of our healing in here, so do not cut a Reckoner's Bargain or any of that. Gearseeker Serpent is a tiny bit slow, so I think I can cut those in this matchup. And then, what else? Probably cut a bit of card draw, cut a Thoughtcast, and a Spellbomb. Let's try that. Alright, so a lot of lands, but I am eventually getting some card draw and getting Refurbished Familiar down. I'm going to keep. And I can hold up a Blue Blast from turn 1, but that's generally not needed. They don't really have a turn 1 play that I care about. Blue Blasting, the closest thing would be Great Furnace into Kuldotha, but that's a pretty all-in play. I don't think you see that too often. Goblin Blast Runner, sure. Alright, then I could put down this Refurbished Familiar now, or I could just wait and hold up the Blue Blast. Oh, so that's a Blast Runner, not a Tomb Raider. I might have said it's a Tomb Raider. So this can't block this anyway if they crack an artifact, so I'm just going to hold back this turn. Next turn, I can play an artifact, play a Refurbished Familiar, Thought Cast, and still hold up. Escape Tunnel, that's very interesting. Okay, I like that. So next turn, I can go land, Refurbished, Thought Cast, hold up Blue Blast. But you know what? Let's just take this off the table right now. I think we need to not think about how to get maximum value out of our cards, and instead just try to remove these repeated sources of damage. So in this case, I'm going to start with my... Oh wait, hold on, I can't do that. Interesting. Do I play my tap land here? Alright, I want flexibility, because I'm going to be drawing too. There are some things that I could pick up that I would want to be able to play immediately. And just the sequencing with the Refurbished Familiar and the Thought Cast kind of necessitates that I do it this way. It does mean that we're getting down our red source late. They're going to Red Blast, sure. Okay. And then I will have to pass. Alright, so the way things worked out there, obviously I should have Silver Bluffed, and then maybe that should have been the move anyway to get down the Krark Clan Shaman. They have a land. Gorilla Shaman. Ooh, that's really unfortunate. So they can hold me off of mana for a bit. It's fine, I didn't have a lot that I was wanting to be doing anyway. I'm gonna hold back this Refurb to potentially block a Tomb Raider. So what I can do is I can play the Krark, and then I can play the land that I'm gonna use to sack to the Krark, and there won't be time for them to Gorilla Shaman it before it gets sacrificed. A Refurbished Familiar is a great play. Let's do that. And this allows me to put down the Krark as well. Let's see. They're going to need some value here. We will put this on the table. Right? Sure. And pass. If they try to kill it, I'll just blow the board. Now to climb out of this hole, blue and black mana are essential. Red mana is good for Krark, but that's about it. They flip Clockwork Percussionist, okay. They play it, sure. So what do I do in this situation? I could just ignore that for a bit. I want to take this off the table so I can start actually playing my lands. I could sack one land and block here. Or I could sack two and it has the same effect. Or I could sack the Refurbished and the land and it has the same thing. Or I could sack two lands and keep the Refurbished. Okay. I'm doing this mainly because I want to get the Gorilla Shaman off the table. Wait, cancel. Alright, they are going to get a draw, though, off of the Percussionist, so that's annoying. Pyroblast, sure. They can't use that right now. But they can use it next turn, so let's remember that. Let's go Seat into Wellspring. Do we find a Refurbished Familiar? Yes, we do. Oh my gosh, calling the shots. They have a Pyroblast that's doing nothing. They can crack a Synth. We take a land, sure. They crack the Synth. They don't find a Kuldotha Rebirth. That's nice. Galvanic Blast. Okay. Do they have a Mountain? Okay, they do. They can take the Refurb off the table. Next. Play a land. Pass. They've got me in the Samurai Clock. But at least they're top decking too. If two players were playing Magic the Gathering, and they both started with 0 cards, the aggro deck would not win. Thoughtcast is great. Got the Breath Weapon. I will pass. Synthesizer, sure. Voldaren Epicure, sure. So they're doing this before combat, which is interesting. Find a land. And they play it. Oh, because they want to crack their Synth. Let's Reckoner's Bargain. I stay at 16. I get a couple of things. I can threaten the Breath Weapon for the rest of the game. I don't super need black mana. Let's see, I can Mirror Enforcer. If I Mirror Enforcer, I can't hold up the Breath Weapon, but if I Blood Fountain, I can. Let's not hold up the Deadly Dispute this turn. Galvanic Blast. Sure. Crack the Synth now. Nice. Good for me. Implement. Sure. Breath Weapon. Alright, and then I can... What creatures do I have? I can crack my Blood Fountain, get back like a Mirror Enforcer and a Refurbished Familiar. Is that what I want to do? I could actually still do it, and I could Deadly Dispute. Let's start with the Deadly Dispute. I'm going to have a treasure, I'm going to have another land. I think I'll have enough mana to do everything. Alright, Vault of Whispers. I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. I think I'm going to do this and hold up the Blue Blast. So let's get a Krark and a Mirror Enforcer, actually. Because the way they win, I think, is like Kuldotha. I will pass. Fear my Blue Elemental Blast. Or don't fear it, actually. That'd be better for me. Man, game 1, my opponent did a good job in kind of threading the needle. That's what the Blue Blast is for. Cast. Counter this. Blue. They're going to get another draw. Foldarn Epicure, sure. And there's another Blue Blast. Amazing. Let's attack. Do I need to play the Krark here, actually? I don't know the answer to that. So if I don't play the Krark, they can Kuldotha, but they can't really Kuldotha plus. They would need to, like, Synthesizer into Kuldotha into Bushwhacker. So I think I'm just gonna... I'm gonna hold back the Krark. I want to be able to deploy it in a situation where they can't just bolt it away. Because then I'd be forced to use my Blue Blast to protect the Krark. I want them to loot away some lands so that I can then Blue Blast whatever they end up finding. Foldarn Epicure, let's just take that off the table. Or let's prevent that, I mean to say. This might be a little bit too aggressive in my countering, but I figure that Epicure is a redraw, and it's a block, so it actually heavily reduces my own clock. Alright, let's Deadly Dispute away our Seat of the Synod. I don't think we need that right now. Alright, we just get a tap land. Let's go ahead and attack. I think, like, yet again, we can afford to hold back the Krark. The reason to play it now would be for a Blast Runner. Let's hold it. Again, if they get the God Draw of Synth into Kuldotha into Bushwhacker, then that play is wrong, but that's runner, runner, runner. I don't think I plan around that. I think I plan around the one card hand that they likely have, which is a Bolt. Epicure, sure. So here I can Krark aggressively to try to get in for 4 damage. Let's start with a Candy Trail. We have plenty of black mana now, so let's tap the Vault of Whispers. Mirror Enforcer, Deadly Dispute. I like both of those. Mirror Enforcer on top. And Deadly Dispute. And then I will crack the Candy Trail here and here. Get the Deadly Dispute. Deadly Dispute away the treasure token. Get a Breath Weapon. Okay. Let's Krark Clan Shaman aggressively to get in for 4. I don't think that makes sense anymore. I think it's time to just play the Mirror Enforcer and hold up Breath Weapon. So let's attack. Even though this slightly reduces my clock, I think this is much better held back. And we can even just play the Seat of the Synod so we don't have to spend our treasure token. Nice. They pass the turn. Okay. So we Breath Weapon here. They bolt a Mirror Enforcer. That's fine, because they can bolt it even if we Krark. And they don't have the bolt. Let's go ahead and attack. They can't Galvanic Blast either. Sideboard. Okay, I like our sideboard plan. Taking out the Gearseeker Serpents I think was fine. I could consider playing Negate. I don't think it's needed. I just want to run that back. This is back to sort of the more traditional affinity list without the Gearseeker Serpents, but I think this is the matchup where they are not that great. They're susceptible to Red Blast. This is keepable. I can go Mistvault into Seat Candy Trail Refurb. They play a Blast Runner, sure. So let's start with the Mistvault. I think this is a very good hand. The only thing we're missing is we don't have sacrifice-based card draw. I think that's okay. They've gone pretty aggressive here. At least they only swing for 1. A Bushwhacker would be very scary. Can I do anything about that? I can, actually. I can Vault and Candy Trail and start holding up Blue Blast. Deadly Dispute, Silver Bluff. Deadly Dispute's okay. Next turn, what am I doing? I think I'm going Refurb and drawing cards. I think both of these are fine. I think I'll take the land instead of the Deadly Dispute. No, I'll take the Deadly Dispute instead of the land, because I have another land. And then I will pass. If they have nothing, I can just blue blast a creature. I've got the blast runner, I've got the counter. Cool, worked out. I could see that they were sort of setting up for this by going wide, and especially given that I have more of these, I thought it was fine. They get in for 5, okay. They're starting to run low on cards. So, we're gonna go refurb, and then we can seat, and we could play a Mirror Enforcer, or we could Thoughtcast. I think I'm gonna Thoughtcast. And pass. So we have another blue blast. They're gonna crack their blood. Oh, it's a Gorilla Shaman? Okay, let's counter that. That is gonna heavily slow me down. Crack their blood. Buff up their blast runner. Do I do no blocks here? I think I do no blocks because I want to rush out this Mirror Enforcer. So if I do no blocks, I can play a land and play a Mirror Enforcer and hold up Deadly Dispute. So let's do no blocks. Or I can Candy Trail. Alright, so there's our Krark Clan Shaman. Let's get another red and blue source. And then Mirror Enforcer for 1. And then pass. So they're not currently showing me a way that they can buff the Blast Runner. Goblin Bushwhacker, huh? So I'm gonna take... I guess I didn't have to do that. I could Deadly Dispute instead. So I'll double block, taking their goblins off of the table because of Goblin Grenade. I'll go down to 6. Next turn we're gonna have another cheap Mirror Enforcer coming down. And they're gonna have to start burning me. Alright, let's pass. Keep our blockers up. We have the Breath Weapon if things go crazy. And I think I want to Deadly Dispute a land. Seat, sure. Okay. Let's start with a Wellspring. By the way, the reason that I sometimes do that with I tap my dual land instead of playing my untap land first is I might be able to support a tap land with my turn. And if I can support a tap land, I like to do it. So do I swing here? How do I close? I have to start thinking about my clock. I think I'm going to attack, and then I'm going to play this Krark kind of aggressively. And play my Seat of the Synod, so I can still hold up Breath Weapon, but I can always hold up Breath Weapon. Let's play the Seat. This way I can save my treasure token. I don't think I need to Krark right now. I can do it later to push more damage if I have to. Let's Breath Weapon. So we died a double burn spell, but I don't think we could avoid that super well. Tomb Raider, sure. Okay. How can I... Oh, Toxin Analysis. That's amazing. And they don't have a Goblin or a Galvanic Blast active. So let's attack with 1. Because if they don't block... If they block, I'm fine. If they don't block, then they're dead next turn. And they can't Red Blast this. I think that sealed the game. They could bolt it after combat, which would be fine with me. It's too late. I already get the lifelink. Opponent is thinking. Let's declare our attackers. Give this lifelink. Heal to 10. Nice. Oh, I was going to attack with just 1. I completely forgot. Okay, well, now I guess we are going Wellspring. Sorry about that. Like this. And Tapland, Krark Clan. Go ahead. If they bolt my Krark, forcing me to kill their Tomb Raider, I will. And that's the game. Alright, welcome back. Let's talk about what we just saw. So first I want to talk about the 2-in-1 that you just witnessed versus Kuldotha. Let's talk about the pros and cons of that game and the deck list into a deck like Mono Red. So obviously there was a key fork in my gameplay where I think that, at least in retrospect, it seems like I made the wrong move. There was a trade-off, right, between stabilizing my life total and stabilizing the board. And what I decided to do was to try to stabilize my life total first, and then I could leave my 2 mana open, as I love to do in this deck, crack the Candy Trail, heal off the damage, but ultimately they had the right combination of burn and haste creatures to take down that game plan. In retrospect, it seems like I should have just played the Krark Clan Shaman, sacked a couple of artifacts slightly inefficiently, and then just tried to climb back because I am better at that than a mono-red aggro burn deck is. But that, gameplay fork notwithstanding, I feel like the deck is still pretty strong into mono-red. I don't know what the overall matchup statistics say about Grixis Affinity versus Mono Red, but I've always been very confident in it, particularly because of Krark Clan Shaman. I felt that the matchup is pretty tough whenever I go down below 3 of these in the main deck, but as long as I have 3 Krark Clan Shaman, I am feeling pretty comfortable, especially if I'm also running Candy Trail and, of course, Reckoner's Bargain. We've got a lot of life gain, we've got a lot of board clear, and all that is to say that I think that this deck is tuned a little bit further away from beating Mono Red, but it still seems very doable. I say that because we're not playing the Galvanic Blasts, which are pretty nice to remove, you know, a Goblin Tomb Raider, a Goblin Blast Runner, without having to necessarily just wipe the board as the only option to deal with those cards. And what we get is the ability to play the Gearseeker Serpents, but I feel like against Mono Red, the game plan is mostly to stabilize, not to try to close things out. Being able to put them on a slightly shorter clock is nice with the Gearseeker Serpents, but I just feel like Galvanic Blast would help more in that matchup. Against the rest of the decks, we were able to close it out versus, and I'm looking at my other monitor for my results, we had a 2-0 versus Boros Prowess. Krark Clan plus Toxin Analysis kind of cleans up that matchup. A 2-1 versus Grixis Affinity versus Fred Hawk, a friend of the channel. A very close match that I think was decided Game 1 by my mulligan to 4, and Game 3 by his mulligan to 4. With Game 2, I was just able to edge that one out. A 2-1 that you saw against Kuldotha, a 2-0 against Mono Blue Terror, and I will say the Gearseeker Serpents came in clutch in that matchup. The only thing that they could do was sort of try to, you know, pick them off the board with Demon Fury or stuff like that. I said, I don't mind, I'll just redraw them with an Ichor Wellspring or a Deadly Dispute and play them again. They weren't able to hold up the counterspell, and I was able to close that one out without too much trouble. And then a 1-2, or technically a 1-1 timeout versus Fred Hawk again in the finals. It was just a very grindy match, Game 1. I think Game 1 took almost 20 minutes of my clock. It was really back and forth, but I was just trying to do everything I could to win that game, and it came down to the wire. I really should have conceded earlier, I guess, but I felt like I had a chance throughout the whole thing. But he was also at 2.5 minutes when things ended, so I didn't feel too bad. I wasn't extremely slower than my opponent. I just have to speed up a little bit. But we still got top 2, and we only lost to the Mirror. I think that the Mirror is slightly tuned towards the standard affinity list, and that's primarily because we don't have Galvanic Blast to pair with, or Galvanic Blast to take out their Mirror Enforces in Refurbished Familiar. And we have this whole Toxin Analysis Krark Clan Shaman suite in the main deck, which I think against Affinity is definitely a little bit overkill. In the side, when I'm sideboarding, I actually take out all Krark Clan Shamans against standard Affinity lists in games 2 and 3. Let me know what you think of that. I just feel that, you know, it can't hit the Refurbished Familiar, it can't hit their, you know, Indestructible Land if they're playing Kenku. The only thing it's really taking out is Mirror Enforcers. Against that matchup, if I'm going to play something, I would rather play Cast Down, I think, or Galvanic Blast. So in the sideboard plan, I was taking out all the Krark Clan Shamans, but I still had the Toxin analyses left kicking around. I think that I probably should have sideboarded a little bit further. I was just putting in the Spell Bomb and the 2 copies of Duress, which were great, but I could have also put in, you know, Blue Blasts for their makeshift munitions, and their Galvanic Blasts, and their Krark Clan Shamans, for their Krark Clan Shamans. That's probably the move. Krark Clan is so good against my deck, it just wipes all my ground creatures, so maybe I do need to side in Blue Blasts. I'm going to think about that. Basically, there were a ton of other good sideboard cards, so I should have taken out all the Krarks, and then probably at least 2 Toxin Analysis for some Blue Blasts or something like that. But overall, I'm very happy with the deck. It's going to perform well in the hands of an effective pilot. You should try it out yourself. And now we're going to move on to an intro for our second deck of the video, which is going to be a Sneaky Snacker focus build of Grixis Affinity. Okay, let's talk about deck number 2 that I'm going to be playing in the tournaments this week. So again, we are still on another build of Grixis Affinity, but this time we're going to be trying to make Sneaky Snacker work. Some people in my comments were suggesting Sneaky Snacker as a value engine. We're naturally drawing a ton of cards anyway, so it seemed like a cool idea, and I thought I would give it a try. So when I was trying to make Sneaky Snacker work, I went through a couple of different iterations, which I'll show you here. So let's start with the first iteration. And by the way, on the advice of another viewer, I decided to change the view of the deck list just to make it hopefully more legible on mobile. let me know if you feel like it makes a difference or if you prefer the pile view. I don't care too much either way, but let's try the card view for now with the preview pane. So this is the first version of Snacker Affinity that I came up with, and what I was trying to do is leverage Grab the Prize as an aggressive tool to help me churn through the deck, while also discarding the Sneaky Snacker. The main problem that I was trying to solve with Sneaky Snacker initially was to figure out how to actually get it into the graveyard efficiently without having to cast it. So I was playing Grab the Prize as a discard outlet. Of course, we also have Blood Fountain Blood tokens to discard the Sneaky Snacker. And then finally, I was playing a single copy of Demand Answers. And the nice thing about Demand Answers is in addition to discarding a card, you can also sacrifice an artifact instead. So if you don't want to discard a Sneaky Snacker, if you don't have it, you can still use Demand Answers to sacrifice your Ichor Wellspring, and then it's just sort of like a slightly worse Deadly Dispute or Reckoner's Bargain. So I thought that there were some strengths with this deck. It did have some aggression out of the gate, but at the same time there were some consistency problems. It turns out the discard package was a little bit difficult, and especially with Grab the Prize, although it's very strong in Rakdos Madness, in Grixis Affinity we don't always want to be discarding cards from our hand, so we're less likely to have things that we want to be pitching. For that reason, I did also include 2 copies of Deep Analysis, which not only synergize with the discard package, but also with the Sneaky Snacker. But at the end of the day, I didn't really need this additional draw power, and even though I could occasionally get some value off the Deep Analysis when I didn't have the Snacker, it was still a little bit inconsistent. So my second attempt at this deck was recognizing that Grab the Prize might be a little bit limiting, so I shifted primarily more towards a Demand Answers build. This can discard the Snacker while also stacking an artifact, so I went up to 4 of these. I'm only on a single Deadly Dispute, which I know is sort of criminal, but I figured I still would need the life gain that a card like Reckoner's Bargain could offer in, this deck that's essentially still trying to grind out the opponent. And I thought that because I was playing Demand Answers, I would also try out Clockwork Percussionist for some additional value. And while this could help get up my early artifact count, and it could provide me some additional value, that value isn't really through drawing cards, which is the whole point of Sneaky Snacker in the first place. So I feel like the Clockwork Percussionist Demand Answers build also didn't really work out. So with neither of those really paying dividends the way I hoped they would, I switched to my third version, which I think is simultaneously the least exciting but also the most consistent. And this is a lot more similar to the standard Affinity build that just plays Sneaky Snacker. I do sometimes discard it to a blood token. Sometimes I'll stack up 2 blood tokens, discard 2 Sneaky Snackers, get them back. That feels great when that can work. But at the same time, more often than not, I'm actually just casting the Sneaky Snackers and then getting them back throughout the game after that for value. And it's not amazing to have to cast Sneaky Snacker on 2. Sometimes you would rather be playing Ichor Wellspring or getting your other artifact count up. But in a lot of matchups, it's actually quite doable, and they do assist in the grind game. In all of these builds, I'm also playing Makeshift Munitions because just chump blocking with a Sneaky Snacker, sacrificing it, throwing that at one of their creature targets or at their face does come up quite often, and the burn plan can come up. So I'm recording this just minutes before the Fuguete League Championship today. Let's go ahead and... there are actually a couple more things that I want to talk about with the deck, so let's hold off on that. We are playing some additional draw power as well. A nice thing about Chromatic Star is that you can sack it on the opponent's turn with a Deadly Dispute or Reckoner's Bargain and draw 3 off of it, and get back your Sneaky Snacker during their end step, and then on your turn it's untapped. Of course that already works with the Ichor Wellspring, but with the Chromatic Stars we have 2 more ways to do that. Another thing to know is that the clue tokens from Toxin Analysis can help you draw your Snackers as well. So you're not always going to draw it off of a draw 2 or a draw 3 spell. Sometimes you're going to draw it off of 2 draw 1s. So pay attention to your clue tokens, pay attention to your blood tokens, your Chromatic Stars. If you have the Monarch, plus like an Ichor Wellspring that can help you get the Snackers back, there are a ton of flexible ways to get it. At the end of the day, this is a pretty controlling deck. I am playing the Cast Down package, which I don't always run in Grixis Affinity, but I just figure we need to be managing the board while we are sort of getting our value engine going. I'm on just 2 Galvanic Blast. This is a little awkward. Some people will say I should play either 0 or 4, but I feel like this is still a nice way to take care of the board while also assisting our late game burn plan with makeshift munitions if we have to. The sideboard here is a pile of good stuff. We've got a suite of blue and red blasts, 3 blue, 2 red. I figured with the Nihil spell bombs in the sideboard and the Krark Clan shamans and toxin analyses, just 2 red blast is enough. I've got another cast down if I really need to go very controlling. Gorilla Shaman for the Mirror or against Rakdos Madness, and Breath Weapon for White Weenie. So, I hope you enjoy the game, and I will talk to you afterward. Alright, we are starting our match versus Entropy. Alright, he is someone that he or they are someone that we're familiar with from the PCT tournament. I wouldn't usually keep a hand like this, but with 3 lands, we're ramping into a Mirror Force. We've got a Chromatic Star, which can be card draw if we need it, and they're mulliganing down to 6. I think we keep it. And they start on 5. Oh, tough luck, tough luck. Okay. I think that they play mono blue. I want to say that. Alright, so I think we lead on a Drossforge into a Mist Vault. We can attempt the turn 2 Mist Vault into Chromatic Star. They don't have an Island Cycler, but they naturally have their second island. Okay. We'll see if they counterspell or Chromatic Star or something like that. I would be fine with that. Interesting. I think that I can afford to take this a little bit slow and play out my tap lands. Does this resolve? It does, okay. So next turn we can go double refurb. Brainstorm, okay. Let's see if they picked up if they have a Thought Scour or a Lorien Revealed. Or a Mental Note. I've seen actually a lot less Mental Notes recently. It used to be that people would play 4 and 4, but maybe that's gone down. I've seen some people play 4 and 3. Brainstorm into Thought Scour. Okay, good. And they mill an Unexpected Fangs and a Lorien Revealed. So we're against a Mere Terror, sure. They can play a Terror here if they have it. They don't have it, or they decline to play it, either way. Let's try a Refurbished Familiar. I don't think they have stuff that they necessarily want in the graveyard right now, because they would have discarded it before if they did. Except just generic instants and sorceries. Ah, an Entropy watches the channel. Cool. I didn't remember that. Okay, counterspell on the refurb, sure. And then I'm gonna go another refurb, of course. Discard another counterspell, sure. And then we have 4 artifacts active. We can get up to 5, so Mirror Enforcer will cost 2, so let's just develop our last color of tap land and pass. I'm pretty comfortable with our start, but if they can resolve like 2 big creatures, I can actually start to have problems. Tolarian Terror, there's 1. Against just 1, I think I should be okay. So, we can have 6 artifacts with Gearseeker Wellspring. Let's start by drawing off of the Wellspring. We'll leave up our Drossforge. No, we should leave up our Silver Bluff Bridge so we can play the Vault of Whispers if we need black mana. And then we have all of our colors represented. Does that get counterspelled? Nope. Okay. So, let's try a Mirror Enforcer. And I'm doing this now instead of attacking first, because if they boomerang my Refurbished Familiar, actually, that's not a good argument, because I could just replay it and then replay the Mirror Enforcers, and of course then I wouldn't be able to hold up Reckoner's Bargain, but I think that's an okay situation. Do I just want a Reckoner's Bargain right now while they're tapped out? I think I do, and then I'm going to plan to double block. Okay, we have our Deadly Dispute for next turn. So we'll double block, and then they can have a chance to redevelop a little bit. They're looking for Deep Analysis. They're going to need another land, ideally. They choose not to attack into my double block. Sure, they just skip their turn. So, what do they have? Not more terrors, maybe Murmuring Mystic, maybe Deep Analysis. I think they would have cycled their Lorien Revealed. Not too sure. So, let's start. Okay, I don't want to attack yet. Let's just start by Deadly Disputing the Chromatic Star, drawing 3. Toxin Analysis, okay. So I think I'm going to play an untap land here, so I don't have to spend the treasure if I want a Deadly Dispute and Toxin Analysis. And I'm going to hold my creatures back. Alright, they pass again. Let's try to dispute the treasure. Do they want to counter or spell pierce? They don't. Okay. Or at least they don't, might not have it, you know. Okay, so, let's keep developing our lands. Let's put a Dross Forge down. There's nothing I really want to bargain away, so I think I'm just going to do all that on my opponent's turn. I'll pass again. I'm giving them a lot of draws here. It's possible that I should be attacking with my Refurbished Familiar, but I think that I'm not going to win by getting in with chip damage. I'm going to win by developing more of an overwhelming board than they have. And more specifically by removing their board. Do they have the deep analysis? Still no deep analysis. I don't know what they're on, to be honest with you. Maybe just a bunch of counter magic? Okay. I'll pass. I'll just keep developing lands. Let's play another Mistvault. Pass? They pass? I don't know what's happening here. I think they have some... Do they have all reactive stuff? Are they just playing slow because that's how they win the... Like, developing slowly because that's how they think they win the matchup? Let me know after, Entropy, if you watch this video. I'm curious what's in your hand. Let's pass. Maybe they want to sequence just a big turn altogether. Alright, that's fine. They mill Island Bajuka Bog. Still no 5th land. Okay. Now we're quite flooded here. And that'll do it. That's good. Let's see if that gets countered. Okay, it does not get countered. Nice. So that's going to be a problem for them eventually. Because we have the makeshift munitions, let's start attacking in. And then if they swing at me, I can Toxin Analysis my Mirror Enforcer and block with it. Brainstorm, sure. And then if they counterspell the... So I move to blocks and then I Toxin. If they counterspell the Toxin, I Reckoner's Bargain. Thought Scour themselves. No cast downs. So this deck plays the Monarch, right? Another Terror, sure. Do you want to swing in? Yes. Move to blocks. Okay. Toxin. I don't think it's going to play Cryptic Serpents. It probably plays Gurmag Angler. We've already seen an Unexpected Fangs. I don't know if they're going to play more than one. Maybe they play 2. Let's crack a Clue. Draw a card. Refurbished Familiar. Nice. And another Mirror Enforcer. So they're not going to be able to deal with these this turn. They only have 1 mana. I'm too high for Force Spike. They don't main deck a Null. Agony Warp, sure. We want to start drawing towards our Blood Fountains to get some repeated value in, but for now, let's just swing in for 2. Then I'm going to double block, and if they, you know, bounce one or remove one, I'll just Reckoner's Bargain the other. Okay, they decline to attack. Fine with me. Pass. Heartclan Shaman. Let's start swinging with both Refurbished Familiars. Do we win this turn? They're at 12. I Galvanic Blast. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage to throw at them. +1. I could try it. Galvanic. Do you have the counterspell? You do not? Okay. Then let's Makeshift Munitions you down. I don't think there's any way that they can heal. They don't have black mana, so they can't Tahada's Ploy. Alright, move on to the sideboard. Nice. That was really weird. I wonder how they had so many cards but so little action. And it wasn't lands either, so I'm curious what that was. So we play the Red Blasts, we play the Spell Bombs, and we play... I don't really love Cast Down against Terror decks, so I think we just play Krarks and Toxins. Things we can take out. I kind of like Snacker as a repeatable blocker. I can drop the Chromatic Stars. I can drop the Galvanic Blasts. I think under most situations I don't really need the Makeshift Munitions. What else? We could trim... I like Kenku. But I think two cast downs is kind of the sweet spot. I don't really want to go below that either. Maybe drop 1 Snacker. You might not need all 4. And drop 1 Blood Fountain. Let's try that. Of course, they had a very rough mulligan that game. This next one should go a lot better for them, I would guess. We have 2 lands and an Ichor Wellspring. I like what we've got here. A Refurbished Familiar Reckoner's Bargain. Looks about as good as any. Most awkward thing is we don't have a turn 2 play. We're just playing a tap land again and passing, but it could be worse. They mulligan to 6 and start. Ice Tunnel. Okay, so they're starting with their black source. So Snuff Out is online versus my Mirror Enforcers and my Krark-Clan Shamans. I pick up the Vault of Whispers, which is nice, so I think now I'm going to Silver Bluff first, because then I can Vault into Wellspring and I'll be representing all my colors of mana. They cast a Sneaky Snacker. Okay, well we have the Nihil Spell Bombs, so that'll help. This, I think, is the very control-y version of this deck, if Entropy is playing a pretty standard list. I've played this myself. It plays Dahada's Ploy. It plays like 2 Monarch creatures, 2 Murmuring Mystics. So maybe they had the Monarch in hand, and that's what they weren't casting. They're not going to be super effective at putting on pressure. Oh, you know what I just realized? This isn't the super control version because it plays terrors. The build that I've played does not play terror, so this is a bit different. And it's also playing, so because of terror, it's playing Thought Scours and Considers. So I haven't seen Sneaky Snacker in this list. It's interesting. I wonder if they're playing the Careful Study build. They're only holding up 1 mana, so unless there's a Force Spike, my creatures are going to be safe. There could be a Spell Pierce. I think I'm okay if they Spell Pierce my Blood Fountain. Well, what else am I doing with my red or blue mana here? Oh, I'm Thought Casting. Okay, that'll be fine. I play Mistvault. I have 4 artifacts I Thought Cast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could drop the Mirror Enforcer here. I think I'd rather get this draw in. They didn't seem to have a Spell Pierce there. Okay, no Force Spike either. Nice. Okay, so next turn, 2 Mirror Enforcers. Pass. Because of Sneaky Snacker, our Refurbished Familiars are, I would say, even worse. Yes, they can... Refurbish can block the Sneaky Snacker, but can also get blocked by it, and I can inadvertently discard their Sneaky Snackers. So, what do we do here? What would I rather get countered? Refurbished Familiar or Mirror Enforcer? Probably Refurbished Familiar, based on that. So let's start with a Refurb. It does not get countered. They discard another Snacker. Another Snacker. Okay, so we gotta find the Nihil Spell Bombs if we can. Let's go with a Mirror Enforcer, and then we'll try another one. And then we have the Reckoner's Bargain, which is susceptible to Spell Pierce, but they haven't had that before. So we'll hope for none of that business. Brainstorm, bring back the Snacker, sure. I was gonna say they don't have a ton of ways to bring back Snacker. I completely forgot about Brainstorm. So, given that this is a Snacker deck, I might actually take out the Krarks in the... Sure. I might take out the Krarks in game 3 if we have to go to it. You know what? I probably should... Okay, I'm glad they're doing something else. I was going to say I probably should have Reckoner's Bargained right there, because they showed me before that they didn't have a Spell Pierce. I think the odds were pretty low that they picked one up. Let's use the bargain right now. Yes, I could bargain away a Mirror Enforcer, but I would rather use this to draw 3. Yes, I heal a little bit less, but I think it's okay. Chainer's Edict in the yard. So 7 mana for this, right? That's going to take a little while, but eventually it's going to happen. Terror. Sure. So that's going to hold back my attacks pretty effectively. Never mind. Take that. Sure. I could pair the Toxin with the Krark. I don't know if I need to. Let's draw first. Always try to draw first. And we'll tap. We need to do... Do we leave up Krark, or do we leave up Refurb? I think we leave up a Refurb. I draw? Sure. I get a Seat of the Synod. So let's wait to play our land. Let's swing in and attack. Oh wait, no, what I should do... I should do it like this to play around Spell Pierce. Okay, now we can swing in. If we get Spell Pierced, it's fine, we'll pay. Here. Do they have the removal? Snuff Out works. Cast Down works. Agony Warp does not work. They have Lose Focus. Did they replicate it? They did replicate it. Okay, that happens. Then I can go and Krark for 1. Oh, but I can't Krark. Ah, I should have left up red mana. Okay. Sure. No, I'll not pay. I think I'm okay. I think this is going to be okay. Let's play a Refurb and consider chumping. Steel Sabotage, sure. That's out of the way. If things go really bad, I can always wipe the board manually with Krark-Clan. What else are they doing? Island cycling, sure. They're getting closer to that Chainer's Edict up there. I think I'm going to block. I think I'm going to chump the Terror with my Refurbished because I'm taking all this flying damage from these snackers now. Oh, they don't even attack. What happened? Why not? Are you holding back my aggression? I'm not sure if that's right. Okay, so we can Blood Fountain. Get back a couple of things. Okay, so they're concerned with my aggression. So I think I'm going to full swing. Because I'm going to Blood Fountain stuff back anyway. Math is for blockers in this case. Okay. And we have to Kruk for 1 here. There's no alternative, so... if we Kruk for 1, then we cannot also Blood Fountain. So let's play out another Wellspring. And if they unexpected Fangs this in response to my Kruk Clan Shaman trigger, I can just put another one on the stack. Do they counterspell this? Oh, they counterspell it. Okay. Okay, I understand. Okay. So let's Reckoner's Bargain on the Wellspring. Heal a bit. Draw 3. There's a cast down for later if I need it. Here is a... Let's play Drossforge. Play Mirror Enforcer. Pass. So they've already used their Deep Analysis, so they don't have that to get back their snackers at least. If you swing with the Terror here, I take it. You are still 1 off of Chainer's Edict. Okay, you choose not to attack. Not a problem. So I can Nihil Spellbomb and keep these snackers hostage now at this point. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total mana, with which I can get back probably Refurbished Familiars. I think that's what I'm going to do. Well, let's Spellbomb first. This gets countered. And I'll get back a Refurbished and like a Mirror Enforcer. Well, let's actually wait and see if it gets countered. It gets annulled. Okay, that's not a problem. Then I'm going to Blood Fountain. Pick up Refurb, and I've got another Blood Fountain. For now, I'm just going to take a Mirror Enforcer. I can get back a Kruk later if I need it. Discard your last card, or draw a card myself. No, it gets countered. That's fine. And then I have the Mirror Enforcer to Gang Block, and then I'm feeling pretty good. I've got Blood Fountain coming down for even more value. What do they need here? Lorien Revealed, Deep Analysis, Brainstorm. They've got the Brainstorm. Okay, here come back to Snackers. That's good for them. Let's see if they play their card that they drew. They Brainstorm again. Okay, I'm fine with that. They dig 1 deeper. They decline to attack, so they probably don't have removal, or they didn't see the line. Let's just try the cast down, I think. Yes, I'll pay it. Let's pay here. Yes. Okay. Cast down works. Alright. We can play a land, swing in, prepare to Reckoner's Bargain if needed. Okay. And let's pass. 2 cards in hand. They can leave back the Snackers as blockers. There's an island. They can Chainer's Edict a Mirror Enforcer, but they tap out if they do that. Instead, they are crawling from the cellar to get back a Terror. Let's bargain right now. I mean, there's no need to do it right now. We can just wait until their end step. Let's let them play first. Okay, so what are we looking for? Like a Kenku Artificer? I think I left that in the deck. Surprised to see no Chainer's Edict there, but, you know, this might be a better play. I can see it. I was going to do that during their end step. It's fine. Doesn't matter. Alright, end step. So they're tapped out. Let's Thoughtcast. Okay, nothing I needed. I could Blood Fountain back a Refurbished Familiar and another Refurbished Familiar. Sure. Just draw some cards. Or a Refurbished Familiar and a Mirror Enforcer. Let's do the Mirror Enforcer. I'll draw 1 card, and then I want to use my last mana to put down the Spellbomb. Let's draw a card. Deadly Dispute. Okay, can't do that this turn anyway. Let's attack. Let's decline to attack. I'm going to put them in a worse position where they're blocking with their snackers before I, you know, just kill 1 off and then correct the Spellbomb. It's less satisfying. They get Chainer's Edict. That's fine. Alright, let's swing in. I can Deadly Dispute the thing that gets blocked. I think they're going to block with all the snackers. Maybe they don't. We'll get at least one into the graveyard. Alright, sure. Let's Deadly Dispute. Here. No, I should have Deadly Disputed the other one. Oops. A mistake. Okay. Now I can Mirror Enforcer. Let's Dispute now on a Blood. We have Red Elemental Blast to take care of a Terror. Let's do it while they're tapped out. And then I will still have enough mana to Deadly Dispute something. Cast. Here. Pay a red. Pay XX. Yes. And then I can pass. I can Spellbomb if they try to Brainstorm and get back their snackers. I have Deadly Dispute to draw further for Kenku or something like that. They can't attack in. What they can do is actually Chainer's Edict here. That's the... We'll see if they see it. Does this can this only be used as sorcery speed? It can. So I should have exiled their graveyard during their upkeep. We'll see if they see the line. Okay, they see it. Good for them. Okay, so I will lose my Mirror Enforcer. Yep. They can't attack. I'm going to Deadly Dispute a treasure here. Okay. And let's Nihil Spellbomb right now. Black. Yes. Refurbished Familiar. Good. My turn. So now I have a flyer. Or I have a Krark Clan. Let's refurb. Let's loot away with a blood token. Let's loot away a bridge. Cast down. GG. No. Let's refurb first. We'll play an opponent. Yes. Alright, and there we go. GG's again to Entropy, and I will see y'all in the next match. Alright, let's talk about the match. So, what you saw was a 2-0 versus Dimir Terror, and what's actually interesting is I don't usually include that many 2-0s and 0-2s in my videos. On either side, I feel like it's often not very interesting because one player just had a ton of misplays, or there were a lot of mulligans, it was bad luck, things like that. Those games that are blowouts aren't that interesting to watch, unless of course you're the winner, in which case they're the best thing in the world. No, I usually include 1-2s and 2-1s because I feel like those are the games that are decided by just like a few important decisions. But I included the 2-0 today because I felt like it was the best example of Sneaky Snacker's power in the Affinity deck. So Sneaky Snacker into a Terror deck does a lot. This pulls a lot of weight. For one thing, it is basically uncounterable. Yes, they can counter it, but it's coming back later, so, you know, they're happy to counterspell your Refurbished Familiar, your Mirror Enforcer, or something like that. But if you put this down for 2 mana and they counter it, you just say, okay, I'll just get it back next turn, no big deal. And that represents more and more card advantage, and that takes me into the second strength of Sneaky Snacker against Terror decks, which is chump blocking. This can chump block Terrors, Cryptic Serpents, Gurmag Anglers, whatever, forever, and if you compare it with a Toxin Analysis, that chump can actually turn into a trade. And it also matches up well into Delvers, by the way, if you're in the mono blue matchup. So it does a ton of things well. It can even, you know, block a Murmuring Mystic Bird if you have to, so other little things in the fringes, but very strong in the matchup. And I also think it's very strong against decks with creatures of a similar size. You know, little sort of like aggro to mid-range oriented decks. It's pretty good against like White Weenie. It's probably pretty good against Boros Synthesizer. Decks with a lot of X2s. This Sneaky Snacker matches up very well into Glinthawk. Weirdly enough, it matches up very well into Rakdos Madness's Kitchen Imp, although I didn't play against that today. So those are the strengths. The weaknesses are it's very slow. We have to actually cast it most of the time because we only have 3 cards in the deck that can discard it, which are the blood tokens from Blood Fountains. Or you can, you know, discard it during your end step if you drew too many cards, I suppose. It's slow, you have to cast it, and if the opponent has trample creatures, it kind of does nothing. So this comes right out against Gruul Ramp, for instance. And I also probably wouldn't play it against, you know, Goltall decks, Boggles, Heroic. I feel like I talk about those decks a lot because I face an inordinate amount of them compared to where they are in the meta, but they do come up, and I don't really like this in those matchups. And it's also not great against Broodscale, of course. In that matchup, you're not looking for, you know, this sort of incremental card advantage. You're sort of looking for interaction to stop their combo, and then you're looking to slam in with Mirror Enforcers, of course. So I feel like that sums up this card. Overall, I would say that this version of the deck seems a little bit weaker than standard Grixis Affinity. And another reason for that is I feel like Sneaky Snacker is a little bit redundant. Even in matchups that are very value-oriented, where you're really trying to grind, think of the Affinity Mirror. I did go up against the Affinity Mirror. It was the Gearseeker Serpent version that I played at the beginning of this video. You would think that Sneaky Snacker is great. You can use it to block the refurbished familiars. You can discard it when they play a refurbished familiar. You can chump their Mirror Enforcers and their Gearseeker Serpents. You can grind it out and get even more card advantage than they can get. Maybe I just got unlucky, but that's not really what happened. In my experience, this just felt like another 4 copies of like an Ichor Wellspring. And I say that because Ichor Wellspring and Sneaky Snacker are both 2-mana plays that you want to be sacking to Deadly Dispute and Reckoner's Bargain. But most of the time in that case, I would rather have a Wellspring to get an additional draw. Also, Wellspring is easier to cast than Snacker, which has a very restrictive color restriction in its mana cost. That's not to say that it's bad in the Affinity matchup. I don't have enough of a sample size to say that. But I would say I would probably actually take out the Artifact Hate from the sideboard, because Gorilla Shaman and Sneaky Snacker are fighting for a place. When Gorilla Shaman is in the sideboard, the Snackers, I'm sorry, have to come out. Gorilla Shaman is just better, especially if I'm against the deck that plays Gearseeker Serpents, because then I need to go play Red Blast, and I need to play Nihil Spellbomb, so there's just no space for Snackers when I have to sideboard in all those cards. So if you would like to pick up this deck, I would actually recommend trading out the Gorilla Shamans for something else. Maybe like an extra Blue Blast and an Extract a Confession. Maybe an extra Breath Weapon, but you don't need Breath Weapon as much when you're playing Snacker. Yeah, I would just say maybe a Blue Blast and Extract a Confession is what I would try next. So overall in the tournament, we went 3-1. It was a big tournament of 40 people. It's awesome that these online, basically very, very low stakes tournaments are getting so many entrants who are just entering for the love of the game. They're not fighting for prize money. The prize is like $2 if you get first place. They're just doing this because they love Pauper. I do too, and I hope you are the same. With that said, let's get into the third deck of the day. If you like to be aggressive with your Affinity decks, I think you're going to really like it. It plays Etherium Spinner, which is a super cool card. So to avoid spoiling anymore, let's just get right into that deck now. Alright, for our third deck of the video, let's talk about Spinner's Slam. So first, I want to credit Cecil on the Affinity Discord for letting me know about this card, Etherium Spinner. If you haven't seen it before, it reads, whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. So this deck, since we have a lot of affinity for artifact cards, has a ton of 4 mana value or higher cards that, in practice, we are casting for 0 or 1 mana. That includes Mirror Enforcer, Thoughtcast, Refurbished Familiar, and Frogmite. So we're nearly maxing out on all of those. I could only fit in 2 Frogmite, but perhaps if you try the deck, you could fit a couple more in. So the mission statement of the deck is on turn 4 or 5, we're going to be prepared to drop an Etherium Spinner, and then get at least, I would say, 2 to 4 1/1 flyers. It becomes an immediate must-remove threat for the opponent. If they can't, we're just going to go really wide. And against any deck that doesn't have main deck board wipes, we are doing pretty well in that case. 1/1 flyers are pretty troublesome to deal with for some decks. In fact, they're pretty troublesome to deal with for affinity decks. So I expect in the mirror, this deck might have some game. We'll have to see about that. But of course, that's only one half of the combo. Yes, we have this board of 1/1s, but what are we doing with them? Are we just playing a Murmuring Mystic value pile? Nope, we're also playing 3 copies of Goblin Bushwhacker. This isn't going to come up every time, but I swear the highlights are amazing. I've played a couple practice games. There were times when on turn 5 or 6, I would have like an Etherium Spinner, 4 1/1s, a couple of Frogmites and Mirror Enforcers, and then a Goblin Bushwhacker, and they just scoop, or they take like a pile of damage, 15 damage, something like that. And then we can close things out in the end game with 4 copies of main deck Galvanic Blast or Makeshift Munitions. So the way the deck has come together is that it is a little bit less, again, toolboxy than the standard affinity list. we're not playing the Quark Clan Toxin Analysis combo. I feel like this deck needs to be sort of lean and can't really support another 2-card combo in the Quark Clan Shaman plus Toxin Analysis. We already have the Etherium Spinner plus Goblin Bushwhacker combo that we're looking for, but I still am running a couple of Quark Clan Shamans to try to kind of clear the way for our Hasty Mirror Enforcers and Frogmites to get through. For the rest of the deck, it is pretty standard. We are on a pretty typical loadout, a little bit light on utility artifacts. We're only playing the one of Candy Trail, no main deck, Annihil Spellbomb, Chromatic Star, anything like that, although we do have the 3 Blood Fountain. We're not running main deck protection, but I feel like Blood Fountain kind of offers that. We can recur our Etherium Spinners, and I've found that even if you can't get the combo off and get in for a ton of damage on your first attempt, you have a couple more attempts, you're still doing affinity things, you're still playing Mirror Enforcers, it's not extremely fragile. And I cut 1 Reckoner's Bargain since we're playing the 4 Thoughtcast in the deck. For the sideboard, we are on a suite of 4 Blue Blast, 2 Red Blast. Again, with the Nihil Spellbombs, I find that I don't need as many Red Blasts as I would otherwise. I'm also playing Extract a Confession for the Terror matchup, as well as Boggle's Heroic, etc. So I think that 2 Red Blast is probably fine. I always like to chuck a couple of Gorilla Shamans in the sideboard, right or not, so this is good in the Affinity Mirror as well as Rakdos Madness. Cast Downs for Gruul Ramp, and then Metallic Rebukes for protection, so this is good against blue decks and decks that can support board wipes. So that does it for the deck right there. Out of the 3 decks I'm showing off today, this one is a complete brew on my end. This one actually didn't come from the comments, but if I was going to be trying off-meta affinity builds, I thought I had to try out this card. It seems really sweet. We'll see if it actually pays off in the games. I'm not sure it will, but I'll try to show off something pretty interesting for you coming up next. So thanks again for sticking around, and I will see you after the games. Alright, we chose to play first against our... Oh, sorry, we're going second against our opponent. They lead with the Jagged Barons. I'm a little bit scattered right now. There was a couple of repairings there, but it looks like we are into the matches. We have a couple of lands, a couple of different dispute effects. Not anything we love to dispute, but we don't really get much of that in this match, or in this deck. So, do we start with blue-black or red-black? I don't think we need to develop our red yet. Let's go blue-black in case of Thoughtcast, something like that. Pass. So we're going to be looking to sack a Refurbished Familiar here, eventually. On turn 2, we'll have a Drossforge Bridge. No other plays. So we're going to need a couple of top decks. Vampire's Kiss, sure. Rakdos Madness things. Okay, there's our Thoughtcast. Hopefully we'll have more to do next turn than just play a 2-mana Refurbished Familiar, but that might be what we're stuck with. One thing I'm curious about in these matches is if I'll find that I'm really missing a lot of those utility artifacts. I could see it. It is hard to fit them in, but that might be where I start to make cuts, so we'll see. Opponent discards a Kitchen Imp, sure. We'll see if they have a tap land. If they do, I'll feel pretty comfortable playing this Refurbished Familiar. If they play an untapped land, it's going to be dangerous. Okay, Rakdos Carnarium, good. Are they picking up the Jagged Barons or the Great Furnace? The Jagged Barons, okay. They're trying to get in for maximum burn, makes sense. Meaning they probably don't have a ton to do next turn. They can have Faithless Looting plus Double Madness, but if they're willing to pick up their tap land, maybe not a lot. I actually don't think, though, I'll be able to block the Kitchen Imp here. So let's play the Refurbished Familiar. Do they discard a Sneaky Snacker or a Faithless Looting? Just a land, okay. So in hand, they have a Jagged Barons, that's all that we know about. So we'll have a choice next turn, depending on what we draw, on whether we want to Thoughtcast for 2, immediately dispute or bargain away our creature. Okay, they Lightning Bolt. That's bad luck, because now we are pretty stuck. We could, of course, dispute a land or something, but we're not happy to do that. This might be a GG next game situation, but let's see what our top deck is. Alright, we have the Galvanic Blast for survivability. Not too much else. I think I'm going to... I guess I'll dispute a land. This feels really bad. We should probably just concede before we reveal too much information. Let's dispute the red land so we can Thoughtcast. And we'll just concede here. Bad luck. Alright, so for sideboarding against Rakdos Madness, I have Gorilla Shamans and Blue Blasts. So against this deck, the Etherium Spinner is actually not bad. All of the 1/1 flyers that it creates are pretty useful. I think that I can afford to take out Galvanic Blasts. It does eliminate some of our reach, but at the same time, they have a lot of healing, so we will take out the Galvanic Blasts. We won't have them for their Kitchen Imps, but that's the main target where we would really want to have one, and Blue Blast just does it better. What else can we trim? I really don't want to lower my artifact count here. I think it's not a Krark Clan Shaman matchup either. And we could cut on an Etherium Spinner. It is the namesake of the deck, but if we are worried about kind of getting like a good start and not being sort of slow, I'm going to cut on a Bushwhacker. I'd rather keep more spinners than Bushwhackers if I have to choose. What is the problem? There are too many cards in the sideboard? Oh, am I playing a 61 card deck? I didn't even notice that. Okay. My mistake. We'll put the Bushwhacker back in and run it. This is a 61 card deck. If it wasn't already apparent that this was a brew, now you can really tell. Yes, I'll go first. And unfortunately, we get 2 blue lands. We can't keep that. Let's mulligan. This looks better. We've got a 2-lander. We've got a Refurbished Familiar, Blue Blast. We have a couple of artifacts to get our artifact count up. I think I'm gonna drop the. Let's see. Do I drop the Blue Blast or do I drop the Candy Trail? I think I'm gonna drop the Candy Trail here. Let's keep and mulligan away the Candy Trail. The Blood Fountain can already get my artifact count up for Thoughtcast and Refurbished Familiar. Done. And let's start with the Dross Forge. We'll have to Blue Blast on turn 3 or later because we need to get this Blood Fountain done. Voldaren Epicure, sure. Okay, Mirror Enforcer is fine. Play a Silver Bluff and pass. They play a Jagged Barrens. Okay. Are they going to have a Bolt or another Epicure, or are they just going to take it slow here? They attack for 1, sure. If we play Refurbished Familiar here, we're somewhat playing into a discard card. So maybe in this situation, I should just cast this Mirror Enforcer. Usually I find that Rakdos Madness does tap out a lot. Hopefully they do it next turn. Let's Mirror Enforcer. It's not super easy for them to deal with it since they only have 1 artifact on the board. So they can't easily just Galvanic Blast it away. This stops the Voldaren Epicure beats, after which they could bolt it, which I think I'm fine with. Eventually we're going to have to draw some cards to see more of our combo pieces. If we win this game, we might... Okay, so now they are Metalcraft. Do they have an untapped red land? They do. Okay. Do you have a Galvanic Blast? You do. Okay. They got it, unfortunately. But that means that we can safely cast this Refurbished Familiar at least. They get in for 1. If I was starting to say, if we win this game, I wonder if we have to go off the spinner plan. They have a ton of interaction. I don't love to do that. It might be necessary, though. So I could take it kind of slow here and play Wellspring into Refurbished Familiar. But I think I want to Thoughtcast instead because it'll allow me to also hold up my Blue Blast, and I can dig further for a land. Let's tap here. I'd rather have blue or red for the... No, I took out the Galvanics, didn't I? I guess I'll tap here. Alright, we missed the land. Let's just go Refurbished Familiar and hold up the Blue Blast. Discard a land? Sure. Pass. I'm going to let this Voldaren Epicure get in. So they have a ton of blood tokens saved up, but blood tokening is not really an efficient way to be casting your cards in this deck. And they discard a land. Nice. Rakdos Madness has some built-in inefficiency to it because you have to not only navigate a 2-color deck, but also navigate a deck where you have both discard enablers and discard payoffs. Okay. I swing. I take it. Let's see if they even have land number 3 or land number 4. I mean, they've been discarding a lot of lands, but did they get rid of all of them? They do have land number 4. Okay. 3 cards in hand. So because they had a tap land, they might have madnessed out something if they could. So discarding another one of their cards will be dangerous. We could go with another Thoughtcast, or we could develop our Ichor Wellspring. I think this is a situation where I'm fine to develop the Wellspring. I'll hold up blue and black. And I say that because they kind of had nothing last turn. And we can still have this. A refurbished familiar. That's a little dangerous right now. I think I'd rather just hold up the blue blast. Let's attack. And another consideration, though, was to Thoughtcast and just hold up the Reckoner's Bargain on the refurbished familiar, because the extra 2 healing might have been useful. Not useful enough to block their Voldaren Epic here, though. By attacking, what we've done is we've made ourselves more susceptible to Kitchen Imp, however. I wonder if I Blue Blast a Faithless Looting. Sure. Take one. They're currently, again, not Metalcraft. Vampire's Kiss, okay. Now they are. Do you have Galvanic Blast? Alms the Vein. Okay, we can't deal with that, so we're going to need to start healing. At the end of the day, this blue Elemental Blast has not really paid dividends yet. I'm not going to swing with the Refurbished Familiar at this point. I think I'm going to cast another one because I have the time, and hold up Blue Blast plus Reckoner's Bargain. So we'll cast it here. Now, good for them, they do have a lot of redraws. Now, because I played the second Refurbished Familiar, I could have swung with this one. But again, that wouldn't really play around the Kitchen Imp because then I would still take the 1 from the Voldaren Epic here, so I decided to just play it safely here. Vampire's Kiss. Sure. Discard a Kitchen Imp. Okay, there we go. I'm in a bit of an awkward situation right now where if they top decked exactly Galvanic Blast, and I tap out for this Reckoner's Bargain, I'm in trouble. But I think I should do it. And I think I'm okay sacking a Refurbished Familiar instead of an Ichor Wellspring. Okay, so they're F6'd. Alright. What next? We have lands, and we have lands that we can use this turn. I think I would like to dig further. I should have actually tapped the Mistvault Bridge because I have the Vault of Whispers. That was probably a mistake. So we can Blood Fountain. No, I think I should Wellspring and hold up the Blue Blast. Okay, there's my Etherium Spinner. I can start doing things with that next turn. Let's pass. So you have the blocker for the Kitchen Imp. They're pretty short on value. They don't have a Faithless Looting or a Sneaky Snacker in the grave. Yeah, let's deal with that. Let's see if they start blood tokening. I would say I'm still definitely on the back foot here. Just, if nothing else, because of my life total. I think they should attack here. That's fine. I'll block that. So I'm going to start making some flyers. Not many. I only have 1 Thoughtcast that I can cast this turn. Hopefully finding some Mere Enforcers or Frogmites. Or untap lands. So let's leave open the... It doesn't really matter. Mistvault Bridge, I suppose. As long as it's a blue source. And we don't find another land that we can play here. So we are just going to play this. And chump the Kitchen Imp. And pass. And by that I mean not another land that I can use immediately for another Thoughtcast. But we might, if they kind of blank this turn, you know, that's actually not the worst for me. It can't deal with creatures, so it cleans up my blood token and my artifact land. Or they could use it on the Blood Fountain here instead, actually. There are worse things in the world. And we can deal with it with the Blue Elemental Blast. Yep. Next turn. Yep, I will block. Alright, let's see what this deck can do. Alright, let's pay... We have more black sources than... Well, we have an equivalent number of black and red sources. It doesn't matter, let's use this one. Well, that went nowhere. Wellspring? Okay, this isn't supposed to happen. Mere Enforcer, that's good. And land. Blue Blast here. Holding up another Blue Blast and passing. Okay, Mere Enforcer helped. And the Seed of the Synod. Let's attack for 2. We're not going to be blocking with this. We have a long way to go still. But if we can find some life gain... we have a Candy Trail and 2 more Reckoner's Bargains in the deck, I believe. Faithless Looting. I'm going to counter that. And I know they can cast it again from the graveyard, but not very efficiently. Like, they can't Madness off of it if they do that. Or they can Madness one thing. Let's see if they try. Or do they want to save that for next turn when it would do more? We can Gorilla Shaman and blow up a land and a couple of blood tokens. Alright, they choose to use the Faithless Looting. Got it. Fiery Temper maybe on my double Fiery Temper. No! Alright. They found the win. GG's opponent. Wait, they only have 1 mana. Right? Okay, we're not dead. We're not dead. Oh my gosh, I was so afraid. Okay. Can we chain further? You get a Seed of the Synod. We don't need that. We can blood token away a bunch of stuff. How much damage can we deal? We can do a single Bushwhacker with a Gorilla Shaman. So that would be plus... Not enough. Definitely not enough. Okay. Let's Gorilla Shaman and blow up some of their lands. Or some of their blood tokens. I think that's my best chance here. All of their blood tokens, maybe? Yeah, let's blow up all of their blood tokens. I don't want to give them redraws. This is my best chance. So I lose to a Bolt. I lose to... let's not attack with that. I lose to a Bolt. I lose to a Fiery Temper. I lose to an Alms the Vein. I probably lose to a Faithless Looting. I don't quite lose to a Vampire's Kiss. 3 mana? Okay, I'm dead. Kitchen Imp? I don't lose to that. Okay, okay. Nice. Okay, do we block both or double block one? I think I double block one. Yeah. So, double blocking one means that I lose to Voldaren Epicure, but I would probably lose to that anyway because of the blood token. Or, not probably, but quite likely. It means that I lose to Vampire's Kiss, but we've already seen, like, 3 Vampire's Kiss? 4 Vampire's Kiss? I think I'm going to do this. I'm more confident in... And then I can... Oh, I can actually Blood Fountain back a Mirror Enforcer, which I can cast to get another flyer. Okay. And it's a Deadly Dispute. Amazing. Let's start with that. Here. On a Wellspring. Draw a bunch of cards. Life gain, please. Life gain, please. Another Deadly Dispute is pretty good. I can still do the Blood Fountain thing. Do I do that here, or do I dig deeper? I think I'm going to Deadly Dispute again. I don't want to just barely hang on to life. I want to thrive. Okay, we got a Blue Blast, so that part is good. But we are dying to Kitchen Imp. So I think we have to draw even more cards. Let's use our Vault of Whispers. Wait, I can still do that, but not holding up the Blue Blast. Ah, man. Alright, that's what I should do. Okay. Sack that for Refurb and Mirror Enforcer. Get a flyer. Oh my goodness. We die to so many things. And let's attack with these. And the Gorilla Shaman, sure, of course. We're also dying to another hard draw Kitchen Imp. The Bushwhacker thing hasn't worked, but it will work next turn. It will work next turn. Please no Lightning Ball opponent. Oh, well, I can hold up Blue Blast if they wait. Block. Win with Bushwhacker? Please? Okay. So I have, that'll be 9, 10, 11, plus 4, plus 2, 15, 17 damage. Do I just play a single Bushwhacker? Let's also play a Gorilla Shaman to get a little bit more damage in. And we win? Let's go! Okay, game 3. Game 3. I thought that was over for sure. Alright. How do I feel about my game plan? I feel good. Oh, Nihil Spellbomb? I haven't seen Sneaky Snackers. I've only seen Faithless Lootings. So I think I'm not going to play the Spellbombs. I mean, they are decent, and they help my artifact count. Alright. If it's playable, and it's an artifact, I kind of want to play it. I think I can take out the munitions, and I can take out... Let's take out a Bushwhacker. I think we only need 1. And again, we're at 61 cards. I didn't even notice. It's fine. Alright, so, is this keepable? This looks like a great hand. We've got Refurb on the... or Reckoner's Bargain on the Refurb. Let's keep this. Alright, so do we go turn 1 Blood Fountain? I think about this all the time. I think I should go turn 1 Dross Forge. I don't think it really helps to sequence it with a Vault of Whispers first, unless I'm going to get like a second Vault of Whispers. And I have stuff to do with all of that mana. And then what I can do is I can Blood Fountain on 2, potentially. with the Dross Forge. And then on turn 3, I can Refurbished and Reckoner's Bargain. Okay, they do have Sneaky Snackers, so I'm glad I brought in the Nihil Spell Bombs. Good. I just hadn't seen them yet. Alright, so let's do... I'm still going to play this a little bit slow. Well, do they have another Sneaky Snacker? There's no way for me to know that. They're tapped out, which is a gift. I'm going to put down the Refurbished right now. Even though I'm not going to block with it, I have to squeeze in these discards when I can, when it's safe. Do you have the Faithless Looting or another Snacker? You don't. Nice. Okay, good. I'm glad I did it. Taking real cards away from the opponent. Starting next turn, I can hold up the Reckoner's Bargain. Hopefully no Bolt here. But if they have it, it's not the end of the world. I have Thoughtcast plus stuff. I'll take this damage. Sure. So they probably want to draw 2 this turn. Well, they would just get in for 2 damage regardless, I think. Either 2 damage or trade with my real creature. They're passing. Okay. That's interesting. Let's start with a Thoughtcast. Okay, fine. And then I will... I'd rather block and Reckoner's Bargain than swing and Reckoner's Bargain. So let's pass. It's more important for me to protect my life total for now than it is to damage them. Once I get Etherium Spinner going, it's a different story, but that's how it works to start with. Galvanic Blast me. Okay. And another one. Okay. Sure. At least they're somewhat low on value. That part's good. And I have the bargain here. Okay. Do you have more Galvanic Blasts? If you have 2 more Galvanic Blasts, then you got me. Okay. They don't have the burn kill right now. Nice. Are you going to tap out? Grab the prize plus Alms the Vein? Sure. So let's see if you have an untapped land. This is hurting me, though. This hurts a lot. You don't have an untapped land, so I can Refurbish Familiar. Okay. Let's try to find more Reckoner's Bargains or Candy Trails, huh? You really need them. So I have Refurbished, and I have Thoughtcast, and I have Frogmite. I think I can Thoughtcast. Blue Elemental Blast is good. Oh, and I got a Reckoner's Bargain. Awesome. So let's play the untapped land again. Refurbished. Sure. What do you discard? Another Sneaky Snacker? Demand Answers. Okay, good. And then I will pass. Okay, let's heal off of the Refurbished again. Let's see. Do you have bolts? Please, no bolts. Alright, nice. We're at 10. Okay, another Grab the Prize. Grab the prize on another Alms the Fane. Okay, go ahead. This Blue Blast is going to start being pretty good versus their Fiery Tempers. Oh my gosh, how long have I been at 5 life? I feel like that keeps happening. Oh, I was at 6 life before, so it's even worse. Okay, tap land, sure. Pass. I mean, the opponent is doing really well. We have to Thoughtcast for more options, I think. All of the Blue Blasts? Oh my gosh, that's not really what I needed. Let's Ichor Wellspring. And I only have 1 blue source. There's the Etherium Spinner. Okay, that can potentially do something, but this is swinging at me. And I don't have healing for it. So hopefully they just have bolts and etc. I'm probably going to blood token away a land. I should have swung there. That was a mistake. That was a mistake. I'm just thinking about surviving. Sure. Okay. Put away a Sneaky Snacker and a Great Furnace. That's fine. So they should be at 24 here. Let's see if that makes a difference. Actually, the Etherium Spinner is doing nothing next turn because I have no 7 mana cards. Oh my gosh. So I go down to 3. Blue Blast? Is that bait? That might be bait. I think I have to counter it. I've got all these untapped lands. Epicure does not kill me. Okay. I've got a Faithless Looting in the grave. Let's loot away our land. This game is so fun. Oh, the Candy Trill. Let's go. Okay. Candy Trill on the Vault of Whispers. We have to attack with a Frogmite here. Not 2. Not 2. Blood Fountain Mistvault Bridge. Not where I need to be. Yeah, not where I need to be. I can get some flyers by getting back Refurbished Familiars. Maybe later. I think I have to spend time healing. Okay, let's play this. And do I put down an Etherium Spinner? No, I gotta have healing here, I think. So let's attack with 1. Oh, we have to play faster. Okay. Less talking, less talking. I can't time out. Oh my gosh. Yeah, because they're going to swing at me with a sneaky snacker. I completely forgot. Oh my gosh. So I need this healing. I think they're very unlikely to have 2 red spells. So let's only leave open 1 blue mana. Okay, Ichor Wellspring. Sure. Yep. Swing in. Sure. Go ahead. And you can get back your sneaky snackers here. Faithless Looting? No? Discard? Okay. Blue Blast? Okay. What else? Alright, GG's opponent, you got there. You made it. That was a fun game. Oh man. I don't know if this deck is good or not, but that was a lot of fun. Okay. Ugh. Alright. In that situation, we should have held open double blue mana. I just wanted to be flexible. Didn't work out. Hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next one. Alright, that was a really crazy game. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. So even though I lost, games 2 and 3 were really cool. Both had a lot of back and forth moments where I was just hanging on by a thread. Game 2 ended up working out when I was able to Gorilla Shaman away all of their blood tokens, running them out of most things that they could do, and then they were 1 mana short of casting their second Fiery Temper for the win. And then Game 3, I ended up losing because I decided not to hold up a second blue producing land for my second blue Elemental Blast. I might have lost that game anyway in the long game, but I at least could have held on by holding up the second blue mana. So really cool. It showed the importance of a couple of choice decisions. Now where does this deck sit in sort of the pantheon of the other 2 decks, as well as the standard Grixis Affinity list in the general landscape? So overall, I would say that this one is definitely weaker than the other 3, the standard build and the 2 that I showed off earlier in the video. While Etherium Spinner does have great synergies with the rest of the cards in the deck, Mirror Enforcers, Thoughtcast, Refurbished Familiars, Frogmite, etc., and Goblin Bushwhacker can really make turn those 1/1 flyers into a real threat and can close out some games. I found that actually came up more rarely than I was hoping it would. Yes, it is a 2-card combo, but I figured we'd draw so many cards that it might be okay, and at the end of the day, it really wasn't. I would say that trying to squeeze a combo like that into this deck that's trying to be all about efficiency and flexibility wasn't really a good fit. It ended up being a couple of blank slots, and actually also pairing Etherium Spinner with the 4 mana value or higher cards ended up being a challenge. Maybe if I played more Frogmites it would be easier, but having to play this on turn 4 or 5, if all I have is a tap land on turn 4, then I have like a single Thoughtcast, Frogmite, and Mirror Enforcer, it's good, but it's slow, you know? 3 mana is actually kind of a lot of mana in Pauper, it turns out. So here's what I would recommend. If you want to play this build, if you want to play around with Etherium Spinner, I would recommend dropping the Goblin Bushwhackers. I would drop the deck down to 60 cards, take out 3 Goblin Bushwhacker, put in a Candy Trail, and potentially put in another Frogmite or main deck Annihil Spellbomb. And if you want to play the Etherium Spinner plus Goblin Bushwhacker combo, I would probably drop a Makeshift Munitions and a Thoughtcast and put in another Candy Trail. That would be my first attempt at this. But overall, weaker, still a really fun deck. I hope you enjoyed it. So that'll do it for the video overall. Thanks again for the strong positive feedback on the first Grixis Affinity video I posted. I decided I would do something pretty similar this week. I had a lot of fun, and I encourage, by the way, all of you who are interested in getting better at competitive Magic to check out these Brazilian community tournaments. They're a great way to improve. It's free entry, so as long as you have a Magic account and the cards to build these decks, you can go ahead and play as well. And it's a fun time as well. So I want to see the community get excited about Pauper. It's awesome to see y'all's excitement and all sort of improve as a group. So I think that'll do it for the video. Thanks again so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. And I will see you in the next one. Later.